Ladies and gentlemen, the news train for Marvel Spider-Man 2 continues, whether it be the new trailers, the new hands-on impressions, or even all the new information being shared by Insomniac Games themselves. There's a lot to be excited about. So today we have 30 plus new details and information collected by yours truly. So sit back, grab a snack, watch out for some spoilers, and let's dive on in. Let's kick things off with one of the best new features and confirmations, and that is being able to run into the other Spider-Man you're not controlling. For those of you that don't know, yes, Marvel Spider-Man 2 features two Spider-Man, and while playing as one of them, we've received confirmation that you can indeed run into the other Spider-Man out and about in the city. They could already be stopping a crime, and you can dive in and help them stop the bad guys. But here's the new reveal from this past week. We have actually learned that the opposite can happen as well, meaning that you can be busy fighting some bad guys and stopping some crimes, and the other Spider-Man will swing on in and help you with your handiwork. That sounds like a very cool feature that will lead to some really dynamic team-up moments between Miles and Pete. The quick transformation from one Spider-Man to the other has also been highlighted many times and looks impressive from just a technical standpoint. But over the course of the last week, we have learned that transforming from one Spider-Man to another, there can actually be a chance of seeing a really cool transformation scene, like in the latest open world trailer where we see Peter doing those ab crunches. Well, some of the other transformation scenarios have actually been seen by people during the hands-on gameplay sessions that happened a little while back. And they managed to spot Peter Parker hanging out laying in a web hammock, which just sounds so freaking epic. I wish I would have seen that. And also Peter Parker playing with one of the spider bots. It immediately makes me think just how many of these different scenes will be included in the game. Next up, for all you Mysterio fans, or you know what, maybe I should be saying for all of us Mysterio fans, buckle in, because the YouTuber Caboose spotted something very cool when visiting Coney Island as part of his early hands-on preview. He spotted an escape room location by the name of the Mysterio, and he says that it looks like the same location that we see in the latest open world trailer, where most of us assume we're actually seeing Quentin Beck without his full Mysterio costume. I love the idea of Quentin Beck putting our Spider-Man through an escape room set of challenges, and it just sounds really cool that we have this brand new Insomniac spin on the classic Mysterio character. And of course, at the end of the day, it's also just simply super exciting to hear that there are more and more things pointing to Mysterio actually being included in the game. And in fact, to give this claim even more credibility, it also does seem like behind Miles Morales, during the story trailer, we certainly see something that could resemble that Mysterio logo behind him, and we know that at that point in time in the trailer, they are on Coney Island. Now, in my last video, I covered the fact that the traversal speed will be faster. Well, courtesy of the very awesome interview done by Run JD Run on YouTube, we possibly have a more concrete number available now.
How do we push traversal? We get the web wings in there, we get the slingshot in there, we jump the speed up by 50%. You know, if you start to use some other abilities, you can get it up even to double what you were able to go in the previous game.
Yes, you heard that right. 50% faster traversal speed, while maximizing the speed in the upgrades will actually allow you to possibly move twice as fast. That's insane. That sounds incredibly exciting, especially if you're someone that was worried about the traversal speed, or if you just simply like to move in style in these Spider-Man games. And speaking of exciting, I hope you're finding all the details we have discussed so far exciting. And if you're enjoying the videos, it took a long time to put this one together, so I would really appreciate it if you are enjoying the video. Take a quick moment to leave a like. Thank you so very much for your support, and let's dive back in. Now, I could not continue this detailed video without bringing up the fact that the game has gone gold. Ladies and gentlemen, the talented folks over at Insomniac Games have announced that Marvel Spider-Man 2 has gone gold. For those of you who may not know, going gold is a term used in the games industry to basically indicate that the development on a game is finished and the game is ready for distribution. It's basically like saying that the game is complete and ready to be sold. Now, I don't know about you, but I was most definitely excited to hear that the game is done. I also feel like it's quite rare for a game to go gold a whole month in advance of release. Nowadays, it's usually a lot more common for a game to go gold just 2, maybe 3 weeks before release, especially when we're talking about a large AAA scale game like Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, I know that I've seen several people immediately jump on the idea that because the game is done, they will now release it early. And I have to honestly say, as much as I would love for that to be true, I don't see that happening. In fact, even in the announcement video they put together, it reiterates the October 20th, 2023 release date. I think they simply have too much marketing and plans in place for the release date to move at this point. And don't get me wrong, I'm right there with you of it being awesome if they did it. But remember guys, we're now less than 30 days away from release anyway.
We are Venom. We are gold.
Let's jump back into some gameplay stuff, kicking things off with gadgets. There will be at least 6 gadgets in the game, and the reason why I'm saying at least, because we don't really see any confirmation of more than these 6 gadgets, but I also have not heard anything that says that they won't include more than these 6 gadgets, so keep that in mind. This might be a bit controversial in the sense that I think people might want more than just these 6 gadgets, but the ones that we know will be in the game are the web shooters, the web grabber, the upshot, the concussion blast, the ricochet web, and of course, the stealthy web line. And speaking of those gadgets, 5 of them, the web shooters, the upshot, the web grabber, the concussion blast, and the ricochet web, will actually each feature 5 separate upgrades available to them. It is unconfirmed and unknown whether or not the web line gadget has any sort of upgrading whatsoever. It has, however, been confirmed that both Peter Parker Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man will have one shared level for both characters. That means if you're playing as Miles and you're leveling up, Peter Parker is leveling up as well, and vice versa. On the flip side of that, the skill points you earn during the leveling process will actually need to be split among an individual skill tree for Miles Morales and an individual skill tree for Peter, however you please. Our 2 Spider-Man will be sharing more than just their level, however, because their suit tech upgrades will actually be applicable to both of them, and they will be classified in 4 categories, and those are health, damage, focus, and traversal. Each of these suit tech upgrades will actually have at least 8 upgrades, which is something that you can see thanks to the preview screen in the open world trailer, as well as these diamond-shaped patterns that are clearly present below each one of the categories that we see presented once again during the open world trailer. The game will feature 4 in-game resources that we will be collecting throughout our adventure, and they are tech parts, rare tech parts, city tokens, and hero tokens. All 4 of these will be used as, I guess, currency that we'll be spending to unlock upgrades, gadgets, suits, and suit styles. Once again, another shout out to Run JD Run's interview with Insomniac Games, because we learned that Marvel Spider-Man 2 will actually be deploying a technology called Ziva Dynamics on many of their heroes and villains to make the characters' animations and muscle structures seem more realistic. This is actually a technology that was used for Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS5 version, but it was exclusively applied to Miles' character, whereas this time it will actually be applied not just to the heroes, but also the villains to make all the characters more expressive and realistic in their motions. Again, it's these little slight details that will make a huge difference when you add them all up. Now, we just talked about gadgets, and if you're like me, you definitely were a little bit concerned about why you would use gadgets at all when you have these new epic abilities available in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Well, it seems like Insomniac definitely made a conscious effort to make sure that in Marvel Spider-Man 2, the gadgets and abilities basically have a complementary relationship than what we have seen in the previous titles, which is why the gadgets are much more so focused on offering you utility and crowd control, while the abilities will really provide you with the damage side of things. This is something that I can personally say I definitely experienced when playing the game early as part of that early hands-on preview event, where I definitely saw myself not using the gadgets nearly as often as I used to in Marvel Spider-Man or even Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. I would more so just rely on the gadgets to really help me out when I was feeling overwhelmed by the sheer number of enemies that were coming at me. Now, I warned you about spoilers, and although I don't want to tell you the exact specifics of the cutscene, I can definitely confirm to you that this Spider-Man fan, I guess we'll call him, will be back in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and this time he actually does have a friend, so keep a lookout for them on the rooftops of New York City. The next detail was something that was pointed out by one of you lovely people in the comments section below on one of my previous videos, and that is the Peter Parker's Iron Arms shootout webs. Yes, that's it, but come on, it looks incredibly awesome. And speaking of awesome, the fast travel system looks incredibly awesome in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I mean, just from a technical standpoint, it's incredible that you can teleport so quickly and seemingly teleport to any part of a New York district that you choose. But in order to make sure players don't abuse the quick teleport system right from the get-go, each district of New York will require you to complete a certain amount of challenges before you can quick teleport to it. I think that's a very, very smart decision from Insomniac Games to make sure that players do spend some time traversing the city instead of just quick teleporting all over the place. And speaking of smart decisions by Insomniac Games, casting Yuri Lowenthal as the voice of Peter Parker's Spider-Man would definitely be classified as a smart decision. Now, Yuri has actually been busy promoting Mortal Kombat 1 over the last week or two, but he also has been doing some interviews for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. In fact, during his interview with the Phase Zero podcast, Yuri Lowenthal continued to hint at the fact that he's very well aware that the iconic meme shocker scene is something that fans really, really want to see in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So much so that it makes me believe that he might have pushed for Insomniac to make this one happen. But you listen and let me know what you think.
A lot of people have been passing around that shocker meme, which I didn't even remember from the original show. I'm just fascinated by how intense people are about, that better be in the game, or I'm just going to stop. You know, like, okay.
Yuri also got the community really riled up this week after mentioning that he believes fans should just get over the face changes to Peter Parker.
Performance was the same for me. And I got over it as soon as they said, hey, we want to make this change so that the facial animation is better. And I'm like, I'm all in. I don't care. I don't care if he looks like a goblin. If my performance looks better, then I'm in. So I think, I'm kind of tired of talking about it, to be honest, because I think everything, that needed to be said has been said about it. And some people will take longer to get over it. Some people will never get over it. You'll always have that. I think the one positive thing that I take away from this experience is that people connected emotionally to that character so hard and so deeply in the first game that they're mad when they feel like that person changes, and I can only be so mad about that because it worked.
And although I agree that the changes to Peter Parker are not great and I still prefer the older design, I also kind of agree with Yuri in the sense that it's been so long at this point that at this point you either need to just accept it and move on, or I guess just simply do not play the game if it's that much of a make or break detail for you. And finally, during that same interview with the Phase Zero podcast, Yuri also hinted at a Spider-Verse collab, going as far as to say that since he appeared in the Across the Spider-Verse film as quote-unquote Insomniac Spider-Man, hopefully they return the favor and we see something from Across the Spider-Verse or from a Spider-Verse appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Does that now mean that a Spider-Man from that film could show up in a video game?
God, I hope so. Here's the thing. They don't, again, surprises even from me. Like, they don't tell me all of the stuff that's in the game, mostly just because it's, I don't need it to do my job. So I don't know, to be honest. I hope. I'm hoping just like everybody else. It was cool that they, we were so excited when they included Insomniac Spider-Man in the movie. I think it would only be fair. So
Cool.
I would hope going forward that there's more crossover.
So all of this, as well as of course the bizarre aura around the Spider-Bot collectibles we have seen before, certainly seems to point to the possibility that we will indeed see some sort of an appearance from the Spider-Verse, even if it's just for a side quest. Now for this next segment, we're gonna do a bit of a rewind to that early preview hands-on event for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now I was obviously fortunate enough to take part in that event, and I have to say for that event, they had this really cool setup that seemed to recreate Kraven's living room, in which they had actually hung up a really cool image of Kraven's family tree. And I can confirm that from the little that I played, at least one of those names on this family tree will be in the game. At least as just a voiced character. I don't know if that character will actually appear and we will see the character, but I definitely heard that character speak. and Kraven interact with said character. Also, notice how there are a couple of scratched out names. Now, I feel like it's also important to point out that during that same event, we were able to actually see some of the spider bots in person. They had them recreated and spread out around the event, which was very cool to see. I also feel like it does a pretty good job of communicating to you that yes, the spider bots will be inspired by other Spider-Man design, but also in some cases, like the one that you see there for the Shocker, you can see that they will be inspired by villains as well. And finally, during that same event, they also had what seemed like Kraven's family banners or family motto up on display. And they actually seem like they have Kraven's catchphrase or way of life, I guess, written on them in Russian. Fortunately enough, I can read Russian, so I'll translate it for you guys. And it reads, "Hunting is life and live to hunt." Seems like Kraven is definitely going to be a fan of hunting. Now, so far throughout all the reveals of gameplay that we have seen for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, it has been quite obvious that we have seen two factions in many different gameplay scenarios: the regular thugs or criminals and Kraven's army, of course. But it seems like the two latest trailers have actually given us a look at another faction of foes we'll be fighting, and they seem to rally behind this fiery symbol. Now, we don't have a name for them yet, but let's just assume that they seem to unite around their love of arson. So next, let's talk about suits, or more specifically, I guess, suit styles. Now, we've learned a lot about different new suits that will be appearing in the game, and that's not something that I'm going to cover during today's video, just because I feel like that would make this video way too long. But we definitely need to bring up the detail about suit styles, where we essentially have gotten a confirmation that they will either have 4 edit styles or no edit styles at all. At least as of the time of this recording, no suits will have an option in between those two, meaning that we've seen suits that have 4 edit styles and we've seen suits that have no edit styles. We have not seen anything in between. The next detail is something that even I did not pick up on when I was playing the game during that early preview event, but did you notice that the lizard actually loses his tail in the lizard boss fight scene? So probably, like lizards in real life, he can just regrow it back. Now, this next detail I most certainly did notice, but so have many other players. They've noticed that when Peter performs that brand new Venom Surge ability, the spider logo on his chest morphs and seems to actually get closer in resemblance to the design of the spider logo that we see on Venom himself. The design of his mask and eyes also seem to morph, and this has made many more people in the community even more so confident about the theory that Peter will indeed become Venom at some point in time in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now buckle in and brace yourself for this next one, because during an interview with Jacinda Chu, the YouTube page The Movie Podcast asked her about the inspiration for Venom, and at one point she says the following.
A lot of sketches and a couple versions of his size. You know, how big is big? How big is too big? Is it too small? And we put it in the game. And at some point when we all played it, we were like, that's the size. So that's kind of how we figured out Venom and what made him fun but cool in our game.
I love that.
Now, I don't want to jump to conclusions and say that this necessarily confirms that Venom is playable, but she certainly described Venom in a very interesting way. Do you think that the way that she phrased it there is a bit of a slip up and a giveaway that Venom will actually be controllable in the game? Additionally, during that same interview, Jacinda actually went out of her way to mention that players should make sure to focus on side quests, because this time Insomniac Games made an extra effort to make a lot more narrative or story elements present during those side quests instead of just having them present in the main story, which I absolutely love as someone who feels like oftentimes in open world games, side quests don't really feel rewarding in any way, shape, or form. Here, if we're going to get to have much more story to dive into, I am very excited to see what they have planned. Another exciting development when it comes to the open world of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is the fact that we have learned that pedestrians, or just citizens, I guess, of New York itself, will often ask Spider-Man for help with some type of a task. Obviously, this is something that we have seen before in other Spider-Man games, where you would need to essentially, let's say, grab a citizen and bring them over to like a hospital or an ambulance. So essentially, it's that same mission type being implemented into Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And again, I think it's cool to see because it gives us even more things to do and look forward to trying out in the open world in the game. In fact, fact, Jeanette Lee, a project manager at Insomniac Games, has actually also confirmed that you will indeed be able to ride some of the rides on Coney Island. Sounds like Coney Island will be a must-visit location in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And finally, we can obviously see a lot of buildings in New York City, which made a lot of people realize the fact that if you look at what buildings are actually made of, if you let's say Google it, you can find out that they use something called walls. So that basically confirms that the iconic villain, the Wall, will be in the game, right? Right? Well, there you have it. I hope somebody laughed at that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please take a moment to hit that like button. Please share the video with a friend or maybe another fellow Spider-Man fan. And I'll see you all on the next one.